So today I'll be reviewing the Joying 6.2-inch MyGig replacement for Jeep Chrysler. I've got it here in my Jeep JK. So for this video we're going to go over the pros and cons of the unit, conclusion for the unit, and I have a full write-up as well. For this unit, it comes with GPS ready to go. The advantages being that it is Android, so you can choose whichever navigation systems you want to use, and there are on and off-road options as well. It does also have the ability to add the backup camera pretty easily, so we can throw it in reverse and get our backup camera up. I think that added about $10 for me, just adding that backup camera, and it's a simple plug and play. There's not really a whole lot to it. The sound quality is significantly better. At the end of this video I will play an audio clip that was recorded at the same settings, both with the stock unit and this head unit. I do still have all of the stock speakers, no sub, anything like that, though the speaker cabinets are poly-filled both during both tests. So for the actual quantifiable measurements, the stock unit gave me about 15.6 watts per channel, which was actually better than I expected. This particular unit gave me about 16.81 watts per channel, which fell pretty short of the 21 watts per channel that the chip is rated at. But that was before distortion. Obviously it can push out more than that, but you do get some distortion. And there is a loudness option as well. If you go into the amp settings, you can toggle on loudness, and that'll give you a little bit more as well. Obviously the EQ here is a lot better as well. The perceived loudness and clarity because of that is significantly better. And again, we'll hear that at the end of the video, but the actual quantifiable piece is about a half a decibel, or 1/18 an increase in the audio intensity before it does clip, and that could totally be the speakers, the factory speakers that I've got in here. But it is much cleaner and crisper sound, much more low end than you have on the stock head unit, and just all around a much better feel and sound. You also have in the amp settings, you've got a independent subwoofer control as well. So rather than having to install one of those little volume knobs for your sub, you can handle it right from there, and you don't have to add that remote control. Being an Android system, obviously you can do a lot more with this head unit than you can a typical head unit, especially if you've got some kind of LTE device to add to it. I do have my hotspot in my glove box, so I am able to have this connected to the internet whenever I turn on the car, which gives me the ability to do any entertainment options. I can use Amazon Music, I can use Netflix and all of that good stuff as well when I am sitting and waiting in car line for my kids, as an example. It does have 2 video outs. The usefulness of those, I think, is not as great as it would seem. It is just a mirror of whatever is on the screen. So if you're looking to do 2 video outs to the back seats to play videos for the kids while you're driving, it's not really going to be an option, because the video will also play in the front, which is technically illegal. I guess it's up to you if you want to try and do it, but that is illegal, and you will get ticketed for it if you're pulled over. The UI is pretty responsive. It's a good little unit. It responds pretty quickly. Touchscreen is good. The layout could be a little bit better. It's not the best for a car stereo. There's a lot of screens to shuffle through and go through, which obviously is not ideal while you're trying to drive. All right, so for the cons, obviously you can kind of see here if I move around. The screen is quite glossy, which obviously once I take the top off of the Jeep is a problem. You do get some pretty good glares on there, especially if you're not wearing sunglasses. so not ideal. The Bluetooth is also pretty limited. I do have halos on the Jeep as well as rock lights. I was hoping to be able to tap into the Bluetooth controllers for those and be able to control those right from the head unit, but I was not able to actually connect to those, and quite a few other Bluetooth devices as well, which is pretty disappointing. So the Bluetooth functionality is pretty limited. I was able to connect to the Bluetooth OBD2 sensor, so I was able to use the Torque Pro app to be able to get real-time information from the vehicle right onto the screen, which is good, especially for off-roading. But there is no accelerometer or gyroscope in the unit, so for Torque Pro, the pitch and roll does not work, which is kind of disappointing, especially for off-roading. The Wi-Fi on the unit is actually limited to 2.4 gigahertz, so I've actually got my hotspot actually through one of the USB inputs, so that is tethered. The speed was a lot better because I wasn't able to connect 5 gigs, which really there's no reason not to have that these days. Not a huge deal, but a little bit surprising. We do have full steering wheel controls on this. With that said, that's limited as well. So the voice activation doesn't do anything. It would have been cool if that brought up like Google Assistant or Google Search or something so that you could actually use that, but it doesn't do anything anymore. Also, the steering wheel controls are limited to the stock apps, so you have to be using their radio app or their music player. If you download other apps to use that, then the steering wheel control won't work anymore for things like, jump into the next song or something like that. Obviously the volume and stuff like that always works, but you won't be able to skip songs and stuff from the steering wheel control if you don't use their built-in apps. And the music player that's built in is not very good. There are really not a whole lot of options for creating playlists or playing a specific genre of music or playing a specific artist. It's really kind of all or nothing, so that was not ideal for me. The other thing is that the stop radio app works, but it's not great. There's no station ID or song ID or anything like that, so it's kind of like stepping back into the 90s, right? I also have a slight issue on this particular model of the antenna not being great. So it does have the antenna adapter that comes with it, which is awesome, but the stock head unit got stations much clearer than this particular one does, which is a little bit disheartening since they used an inferior chip. There's one in the same family that would give you HD radio and gets much better reviews, and it's a pretty negligible difference from a cost perspective. So it's surprising that they did not use that chip, especially where this is supposed to be a radio, not an Android tablet. But when you do have something LTE to hook it into, it does become a tablet, which is nice. It gives you a lot of options while you're in the vehicle. So final conclusions on this before we go to the audio clips. It's well built, it's solid. I don't see any particular issues with this or longevity with this. It would be nice to not have a glared screen, but you could always add an anti-glare screen protector and solve that one reasonably easy. With some tweaks from the manufacturer Joying, this could be a fantastic unit if they were to add that gyroscope and accelerometer so that the pitch and roll worked, and change out that radio chip. They could really make this a great unit, but it's not quite there yet. Overall, I like it, and it's probably worth the $200 that it costs right now on Amazon Prime. It's a good upgrade if you're looking for a quick and easy upgrade. It does take about 5-10 minutes to install. Everything's plug and play, so there's not really a whole lot to it. It does give you much better sound, unless you're listening to the radio, of course. Then you get a lot of static that you wouldn't have had before. The other thing that's annoying about it is the startup time is about 40 seconds every time you start the Jeep, so it's taking quite a while before you get any sound of any kind. Further complicated by my particular hotspot, which then I have to go into and actually tell it to tether to send internet to the head unit, so that takes another couple seconds beyond that, so it's a little bit annoying in that aspect. They do have another version of this that's all touchscreen, and it does have fast boot on it, so that one supposedly boots in 2 seconds, which would be much more useful. But if you're one of those people that's going to have a problem waiting for 40 seconds, or you don't have something to add LTE to the unit, it may or may not be worth that $200 to you. But if you're looking for something cheap to be able to easily add sub or an amp to, it does have all of your RCA outs. It does have GPS built in with everything that you need, and does easily add the backup camera as well. So it really depends on what you're looking for, whether or not it's worth it. Alright, so we'll go ahead and play those audio clips.